that good stuff. But this is Solutions Watch, so let's not do that right now. If you're really interested, you could go back to episode 371 of the Corbett Report podcast on going viral. But let's not worry about that for now. Let's actually get into the work of, okay, so memes are something. They transmit ideas in ways that many, many people can catch very easily. So they are obviously effective in shaping political narratives, as the Gavi hand-wringers and the scientists, quote-unquote, who are studying this phenomenon, and Bill Gates and everyone else are worried about. So how do we use this? How do we use this to our advantage? Well, rather than me talking about this, why don't we actually talk to some people who are doing it? And I have a couple of people lined up today that should be interesting. I want to say you might not know their work, but you probably do. You just might not know it was them. First up today, I'm going to be talking to a veteran of the meme wars, and like many meme lords, again, you have probably seen his work, but you probably had no idea it was him, because he has gone under many different names, many different accounts, many of which have been banned over the past several years, of course. And he's worked with many different outlets, but his work has been widely shared online, and he has made something upwards of 10,000 memes at this point. He lost track of counting several thousand memes ago, but many, 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 many thousands of memes that have been shared in the aggregate millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of times. And you might know him as Winston Montauk, as he is known on several sites, which is a play on a couple of literary characters. I'll let you put that together, what that reference is. You might know him as Prophetic Memetics. You might have seen his work with We Are Change and Free Thought Project and Mint Press News and many other outlets besides. But anyway, his real name in real life is Rick Fry. And I have had the pleasure of catching a very interesting, in-depth conversation on the Free Thought Project podcast several months ago now, in which they interviewed Rick about his work, specifically the art of information exchange and the science of meme warfare. And I would sincerely suggest, if anyone is interested in this topic, that they go and check out that interview. It's in-depth. It goes into the background and some of the inside baseball and what have you of the online media world. So very interesting stuff going on in that conversation. But I had the chance to talk to Rick recently, who is a Corbett Report listener and supporter. And I wanted to talk to him and pick his brain about the art of meming and the effect that it can have in changing the political narrative, really, truly waking people up to a different reality, as he has had cause to see many, many times over the course of his very interesting career as a professional memer, which is apparently a thing that exists now. So I started by asking Rick about how he got into this in the first place.
I started out just as a normal activist around the same time you did, 2005, 2006, making flyers and handing out DVDs and that kind of thing. I started on social media doing that kind of thing, and back in the MySpace days, and then I went to Facebook, and you know how hard it is to get people to read an article or watch a documentary or anything like that. And one day I was sharing an important article, and nobody really paid attention to it, but they paid attention to this meme. I kind of got frustrated, and so I started making memes, making fun of memes, and making fun of the fact that people don't do research, you know. But what I discovered quickly was that it was actually really fun, and that the pictures were kind of talking to me in a way. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted them to say, and for the first time ever, like, I had control of my own content. Like, before I would find what you made or what somebody else made, but all of a sudden I could use my voice and say exactly what I wanted to say, exactly the way that I wanted to say it. And I knew I'd found something that was important. Like, all of a sudden it was, it was going everywhere, and I'd see my memes everywhere, and I knew I had tapped into something. I didn't understand memetics. I didn't even understand what a meme was. And yeah, ironically, and people realized that I was making all this viral content every day, and I worked for a number of websites. But yeah, one day I kind of woke up and was like, wait, I'm a professional artist. Like, I'm not an artist type of guy. Like, it wasn't, at least I didn't think I was, But I just followed what I saw was working. And you can't really make them watch anything, but you can plant a seed. And I'm completely convinced that this is the most important and best tool in the history of activism. Now, granted, we've only had the internet for a certain amount of that time, but there was never a time where somebody like me could reach millions and millions of people in just a moment's notice, I can post something and somebody in Sweden is sharing it. Like, that's just crazy reach. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
All right, let's talk about that power. It is an art form as well as a skill, as I'm sure you know, and sometimes things catch on and sometimes they don't. What has surprised you about memes that take off or memes that don't? Or have you found the secret sauce? What have been your conclusions about this so far?
Well, I can tell you that, I'm probably pushing close to 10,000 memes at this point. I lost count, somewhere around 5 or 6,000, and that was years ago. Um, Even when I think it's awesome, I don't really even know. I'm usually pretty right but I never. Sometimes I rush a meme and I'm just like, whatever, and it blows up, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have spent a little more time on that one and prettied it up a little bit. But it's really what you're saying at the right moment at the right time. I always remember this one meme I made. It was about when the confetti was falling, when Hillary Clinton had so-called won the nomination, but they had been stealing the votes from Bernie. And I'm no Bernie fan, but I knew there was primary fraud going on. And so this joke popped in my head, like, I bet that confetti is made of missing ballots. And so I made this joke about it being, and I posted it. And when I refreshed it, I had like 300 or 400 likes. And I was like, well, that can't be right, because I just posted it. And I refreshed it again, and it was like 600 or 700 likes, because I made the perfect joke at the perfect time when everybody was online. But if there was it's really about what you're saying. But if there was a secret sauce, I would say it's kind of take the pop culture, TV show of the moment or whatever it is, and then take the corporate news, distracting story, and then turn it into something about the Federal Reserve or Monsanto or something. Twist it on them like a good joke does.
I think the beauty of the memes that are spreading online is that the ones that take off tend to be the ones that take a seemingly complex subject and really crystallize it down to its core so you can get across that idea in a second. And as I say, that is a skill and an art form. Is there any memes? I mean, you've done thousands and thousands and thousands of memes, but are there any memes that you can think of where you were particularly proud of taking a complex subject and just getting it right down to the basic brass tacks?
Well, that is interesting, because I'm just about finished with the book, and I was going to recommend that you talk to this guy, Dr. Michael Nels, I think is how you say his last name, and he wrote a book called The Indoctrinated Brain, and it's discussing the fact that they knew ahead of time that the particular spike protein in these shots would attack the hippocampus and cause a form of dementia. So that we're actually not just competing with fear-based mind control, but a literal attack on the hippocampus. Well, that's obviously, I don't even really understand hippocampal neurogenesis. That's complicated stuff. So I'm trying to read that, and I ended up making like a volleyball reference. So I just did that yesterday, where I have like the blood-brain barrier, and she's taking a spike protein to the face, and it is very complicated to do that. There are some memes that I've made that were like, when the coronavirus stuff started, I took a screenshot of the PCR test literature that showed that too many cycles caused false positives, and then I took a screenshot of the cause of when they changed the cause of death recordings on March 24th, and then I showed in the meme, like, this is how the scam is pulled. And people will say, well, a meme's not proof. But in that particular case, I was taking screenshots directly from the literature. So in that case, that meme actually was proof, So I was proud of that one, I think.
So for people out there who maybe, like yourself, don't think of themselves or don't particularly rate their artistic ability, or they're not interested in memes, they may be the next meme lord, unbeknownst to them. Who knows, right? What would be your, if not words of encouragement, at least your invitation for people to step into this ring and find out if this is for them?
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to, because it's really easy. I mean, if you can send a text message, you can make a meme. There's free meme apps. If you kind of say things in a clever way, you probably have a knack for it. And even if you're not really good at making memes, you can make a fake profile, so you don't have to worry about offending your friends and family, and come steal my work and put it on other pages. They are so effective at starting conversations and getting people talking about these issues. And go spam your local newspaper page, go get in groups and be somebody else, and start using those memes to spread the truth. But, really, if you just download the app and give it a shot, you never know. But, whatever it is that you would say on Facebook normally, if you're going to say some quick little status, if you can figure out a way to put it on a meme, it'll be that much more effective every time.
Exactly right. What meme app do you use?
I just used meme generator.
Yeah.
It
All
was
right.
just the common one that I used when when I first downloaded it.
All right. Speaking of your work and how people can see it for themselves, I know you've worked for a lot of different outlets over the years. Your work is all over the place. Is there any place that people can go that's a one-stop shop for your work, or how do they find it?
Well, until I get banned again, of course. But yeah, recently I restarted Prophetic Memetics page. It's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then I'm under Winston Montag on Getter. And I also have a Rumble page, and I was fortunate enough to have you share one of my videos, and to get the Corbett stamp of approval was a huge deal for me. I have a few Rumble videos. But yeah, if you look for Winston Montag or Prophetic Memetics, you can usually find it. And before we end our interview, can I just say that I love New World Next Week. My vote on your satire thing is you keep doing it. I like the fake news awards. James Evan Pilato cracks me up every week. You guys are funny. I love your humor because you'll be reading exactly from the paper, and then you'll be like, oh, heaven forbid. And it just kind of catches me off guard. And it's funny. You guys both have a good sense of humor. Thank you, Brock, for the awesome editing and everything you guys do.
Awesome. The funniest thing is people think that was really a vote that I was having. As if, 50% plus one of the audience said they don't want satire anymore. I better stop.
Well, no.
That's the real joke.
I'm sure your fans all know like where you're coming from, and anyone who watches you enough, they've learned to appreciate everything that you're about.
Could you imagine me not using humor? Anyway. Okay. That being said,
how would we get through this? I mean, that's what we research is so depressing and it's so dark, and if we didn't find ways to make light of it, and can I just say one more thing for we end this? I know, and I watch Solutions Watch a lot, and I like that people are building alternative systems. But there seems to be this kind of thing where like, oh, we can't wake anybody up anymore, and that's just simply not true. And if you have the knowledge that we have, and that's great if you're building a regenerative farm or whatever you're doing, but you should also plant seeds. Because my belief from the beginning has been the only way out of this is that we outnumber them. And the only way we can really stop them and have any solution that will work is if we teach enough people about this where they can't do what they're doing anymore. And so as far as I'm concerned, that's the number one solution, is to continue to wake people up. And you and I have both seen this. There was a time when we talked about Epstein and we were nut jobs. And now it's just a common joke that everybody makes. And during the Bush administration, when you talked about this stuff, you were absolutely crazy. Now you're a Nets truther. Like they just use truther like it has nothing to do with it, because we've built this level of knowledge that it continues to grow, and we have to keep doing that. To give up on that is to lose everything.
Once again, that was Rick Fry, aka Winston Montag, aka Prophetic Memetics, aka. He's been known by many different handles over the years, and as you can imagine, has had many accounts banned on many different platforms over the years. But for what it's worth, I will put the latest links to his latest platforms and latest accounts in the show notes, and so get them while they're available, until they're banned anyway.